We do begin tonight, though, with this horrific crash, a passenger plane crashing into a Coast Guard plane while coming in for a landing in Tokyo. The awful moment caught on video, the passenger plane touching down, colliding with that second plane, erupting into a fireball, trailing smoke as it continues down the runway. The passengers soon racing to escape down the emergency slide right there. 379 passengers and crew on that JapanA Airlines flight getting off just before it was completely engulfed in flames. The 5 crew members on the Coast Guard cargo plane did not survive this. This crash, part of Japan's twin tragedies. That Coast Guard plane was actually full of supplies, bound for the part of Japan devastated by an earthquake on New Year's just 24 hours earlier. Tonight, here the investigation, of course. How did this happen? ABC's Matt Gutman leading us off on the scene in Tokyo.
Tonight, the urgent investigation into how this JapanA Airlines flight landing at one of the busiest airports in the world collided with a Japanese Coast Guard plane readying for takeoff. Video showing the moment of impact, Flight 516 loaded with 379 passengers and crew engulfed in flames blazing down the runway. The plane sliding to a stop on its nose and belly. Inside, smoke fills the cabin, emergency slides deployed, and dozens of firefighters dousing the wreckage with fire retardant.
Landing
after
fire.
But they went on the slides. The emergency exit.
Yes.
We spoke to Yamake, who was on that flight, and says this video was shot from his seat, fire shooting from the engine. Then what he saw on the outside. The plane on its belly, foam raining down as fire incinerated the wing. Miraculously, everyone on board was evacuated within seconds, authorities saying 17 people suffered injuries. Tonight, the runway is closed and only the charred hull remains, experts crediting the carbon fiber fuselage and passengers heeding the commands of cabin crew with all those lives saved.
Almost always these incursions and these near misses are the result of human error, whether it was human error in the control tower, on the ground, in one of the cockpits. That's something that the Japanese will need to determine.
French crash investigators, joined by 5 investigators from Airbus, will travel to Japan. This is what they'll be focusing on.
JapanA 5 and 6, continue with 3 right.
Communication with air traffic control. Japanese authorities saying 5 members of that Coast Guard plane sitting on the runway were killed. This was part of the twin tragedies that struck Japan within 24 hours. That Coast Guard flight headed to western Japan to deliver aid after a massive 7.6 earthquake shook the country hours into the new year. The quake sparking fires and liquefying the ground, triggering mudslides. The death toll there rising. At least 55 people have died as rescuers race to find trapped residents under collapsed buildings. And more tremors today as new footage shows the widespread destruction, roads split in 2, homes buried under the mud.
Just extraordinary, these 2 disasters for Japan. Matt Gutman with us there live at the airport in Tokyo. Matt, you were telling us before we came on tonight that some of those passengers are the ones who've been stranded trying to rebook flights. And what a miracle that so many of these passengers, the entire passengers and crew, all got off before this was engulfed in flames.
As investigators continue to probe this crash, David, it is becoming clear that had that Coast Guard plane nosed even just a few feet farther onto the runway, it might have collided not with the wing and the engine of Flight 516, but with its fuselage, causing what experts tell us would have been a catastrophic explosion. Those passengers on board telling us that there was no panic. Everybody exited the plane in an orderly fashion, and they heeded the commands of the crew to leave their personal belongings on that plane. David.
An extraordinary crew, of course. Matt Gutman leading us off here tonight. Matt, thank you. We do begin tonight, though, with this horrific crash, a passenger plane crashing into a Coast Guard plane while coming in for a landing in Tokyo. The awful moment caught on video, the passenger plane touching down, colliding with